1000 damage. That's fucking insane. That's fucking insane.
Well, as you can tell from that little snippet, I
Greetings.
was extremely happy with the outcome of that dungeon. And I'm actually really happy with the outcome of this game. It's fantastic. Yeah, it might have some flaws here and there, but I'm loving this game. I'm just going to quickly tell you about the gear that I'm using, the stats that I'm rocking, and before I get into that, this is a tip that I've just figured out. Now, you see the icons above your spell bar? If you don't know what they are, if you go to your effects, so your stats, if you go to the very top, it says active effects, and that will tell you exactly what you have active at the time. Yeah, that was a good one because I really didn't know what the hell was happening at the start of the game. So again, I'm not really going to go through each and every stat. I'm just going to give you a rough guide of what I'm at just now. I'm actually level 87 just now at the making of this video, or editing this video rather. But yeah, I want to talk about a little bit about overpower damage and chance because this really confused me. I couldn't really find anything that would give me overpower chance. However, like if you read at the bottom, your chance to overpower comes in many shapes and forms. Now that Frost Nova basically instantly procs overpower, and as soon as that's done on the mobs, as soon as I've hit them with a Frost Nova, then yeah, that's overpower. So I'm not really too worried about increasing my overpower chance. It's absolutely fine because I use Frost Nova, which instantly procs it. So yeah, that was just one thing I wanted to talk about. Basically, what I'm looking for in my build is critical strike damage with lightning, damage versus burning, damage versus lightning, all that good stuff. You need to be careful not to have lots and lots of different variations of damage because your character's only going to put out 3 or 4. So once you look at your skill tree and figure out what damage you're actually putting out, try and reflect that with the items and the jewelry that you find along the way. I'm going to talk slightly, maybe just a little bit about the codex of powers that I've managed to get, and obviously any extra stats. Now the maximum life is kind of sucky for sorcerer, so I do try and work in some maximum life into my armor, and you might see some on my jewelry as well. Movement speed is incredibly high, cooldown reduction is incredibly good. It just turns my 50-second cooldown for unstable currents into about 25 to 30 seconds depending on how many mobs I'm hitting at the time. Codex of powers, you're going to find a lot of these. These are fantastic. The armor one is probably the best one. You gain 0.50% and it stacks up to 50%. That's insanely good. I've got this chest piece here. This allows me to teleport and bring everybody in for a group hug before I murder them all. Damaging an elite enemy gives me a barrier. I had a higher one than this, but I had to replace my chest piece, unfortunately. So I went from 6,050 down to 5,090. But it does reflect your life, I've read, so that's pretty good. Again, just things that's helping me in these high-tail dungeons. You've got the crowd control. Enemies that die while frozen have a 19% chance to unleash a Frost Nova. That's insanely good because if I Frost Nova them and they all get stunned and I kill them, then the ones behind them all get Frost Nova. It's a really good chain effect for that one. Yeah, really happy with that. Now the Trail of Frost, this doesn't really do much against crowd control enemies. It does help a little bit, chills them a little bit, but this is for boss. I just walk around the boss, just keep walking around him and that stagger bar just fills up. It's pretty insane. So that's what these are my boss boots. I'll normally just switch them. As you'll probably see, I've got 3 items in my stash, or in my bag, that I switch between. There's a chest piece, a helmet, and the boots, because it's hard to say goodbye to certain pieces of equipment. So I like to swap it. Again, equipped, I've got cooldown reductions, I've got critical strike chance, a little bit of life on kill, nothing much. It's pretty good, keeps you alive a little bit longer. Again, critical strike chance, damage, all the good stuff. Damage over time, crackling energy damage. I don't really actually rate crackling damage, to be honest. It's okay, but it's not like I wouldn't really focus on all crackling damage. Yeah, like I said, I didn't want to go too in depth with the gear. This is just really showing you what I'm working with and what I'm rocking. The footage that I am going to show you, I'll just put some music over it. I'm actually quite happy with the Sheer Factory options on the PS5. There's a lot more edit, transitions, and music, which you'll hear in due time. But I just wanted to talk briefly about the stats that I'm using. Oh, there goes my phone. Stats that I'm using, the damage that I'm trying to focus on. The game can be quite difficult, so the best piece of advice that I would do is look at the skills that you're using, read them, and it will show you the damage. It could be lightning damage, it could be physical damage, or fire damage. Have a look at what you're putting out the most, and then just try and amplify that and reflect that with the gear and the jewelry that you're using. And don't be scared to re-roll, and don't be scared to try out different things. Even if you have upgraded your armor, keep the old piece for a couple of maybe about an hour or so after you're trying the new piece, because if it doesn't work out, then you can always switch it back. Skill tree, again, I'm not going to go into massive details. You can pause it and have a look. I've only got 1 point into Firebolt, and that's just for my enchantment. So the Arc Lash always procs fire every single swipe. Mostly, it's all defenses. We take 0 core skills here. We don't spend any mana, which again plays into our build. But we are defensive, very defensive. So we have 1 of everything here. Flame Shield, Teleportation, Ice Armor, Frost Nova. Yeah, all good stuff. All very powerful. Over here, we're just tuning things here. We've got Align the Elements. We've got Conjuration. That just basically means when I use Unstable Currents, all of my conjurations are much stronger. So every time I spam it, you see the shot, lightning bolts, you see it all. You see them all happening. Now I don't have any of those spells procced on my bar. They're only getting procced by Unstable Currents. Ball Lightning's super strong, so I use that for the bosses. Yeah. Again, I don't want to confuse you too much, but I have actually swapped out one of my enchantments. I've swapped out the Ball Lightning enchantment, and I've swapped it for the Ice Blades. That just gives me further reducing cooldown, and I've switched to Overflowing Energy because that Crackling Energy also reduces my cooldowns as well. So it's all about cooldowns. The more cooldowns that I can have, the more times I can proc up my barriers, the more damage I do with barriers. Yeah, it's just all good. It's all good. Again, Paragon board. I wanted to make sure that I was doing everything right, so I only really checked a couple of videos once I got to about level 70, 71, and I wanted to see how other sorcerers were doing their Paragon boards, and I'm really happy to say that I've managed to successfully choose the right boards and the right glyphs, and maybe not in the right order, but they're there, and I've certainly chosen, I'm going to put this point here just so I can get a little bit more dexterity, willpower, or intelligence rather, just to set off that. Yeah, there we go, 40 intelligence. So to be honest, these glyphs, these legendary glyphs, these are your money maker. This is your bread and butter right here. Again, it just works in really good synergy with the gear. You can reflect your Paragon board to reflect your gear rather. And you can complement your gear and your Paragon board with each, you know. And there's just so much to do in this game, guys. There's no spoilers. I don't want to talk about the campaign. The campaign was fantastic, but once you beat the campaign, nothing but Tree of Whispers. That's all you want to do is Tree of Whispers. You'll get all your glyphs unlocked. You'll get some sigils. That's the best way to get started. So I'm going to talk a little bit after this little montage. I'm going to show you guys what I can do in these dungeons with the level that I've got. And I'm going to play a little bit of music. Why not? Some hard rock for guys who like to rock hard, who are hard rock just like me. And I'm getting even more hard when I play this game. So let's rock hard together, guys, and let's enjoy it. And I'll speak to you guys shortly after this little montage. Man, I actually love that little tune. That's pretty good. It fitted pretty well into the little montage. So yeah, again, I didn't want to play the music all the way through. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the game and my journey and just really my thoughts. Recently we had a little campfire dev chat about some changes they're going to be making specifically for this Nightmare Sigil dungeons. The thing that I really hate, well, not hate, the thing that was really bothering me, I guess, was the travelling to and from the Nightmare dungeons. That was a bit of a pain, if I'm honest. So they're fixing that now. I think they're changing it to the point where if you just open up the sigil, it'll take you either straight there or open up a portal that takes you straight to the dungeon, which for me is fantastic. I can't remember how many times I've actually stopped doing the dungeons just because I couldn't be bothered having to travel to the dungeon depending on where the waypoint was. Again, that's like a first world issue problem. You know what I mean? This is almost like my crystal shoes are too tight. But again, these are just issues that not only I've noticed, but a lot of the people who are playing end game now who just want to do nothing but grind these dungeons. There's obviously some downtime in between your XP gain. So you do the dungeon, you get some XP, but then you're kind of doing nothing for maybe a minute or 2 minutes, depending on if you have to scrap anything, sell anything, upgrade, replace anything, and then obviously activate the sigil and then transport to the nearest waypoint and then travel to the dungeon. So yeah, they're definitely looking at things like that to change, which again is fantastic. We all know Blizzard have had their ups and downs in terms of recent games and whatnot, but I can honestly say so far with Diablo, yes, they've done some fixes and balance and changes, but I mean the Barbarian was fucking broken, man. What do you expect? Of course they're going to do client fixes and things. And I have even noticed these. You can, when you're playing the game, like sometimes the game will get laggy or whatever. Just try and teleport or walk back to the nearest safe point town or whatever. Because these games do get automatically updated in real time. There's no downtime, so you don't have to stop the game, quit the app, update the app, and then continue playing. These updates are actually fixed into the game while you're playing it, so you might feel some stutters or some frames, and that might be the main issue, so don't worry about it too much. I wouldn't leave the game because sometimes it can be quite hard to get back in the game if there's a queue time. Just make yourself safe and just wait it out. Obviously if you're a hardcore gamer, you don't want to switch the bloody thing off like myself. Okay, so this is just a nibs view. Like I said, I've never ever played a Diablo game before. Back in March, I played the open beta and I was blown away by it. I think everybody was. However, everything seemed a lot stronger back then. But I guess they just wanted you to feel, they wanted you to see what it feels like when you get to the end game. I played the Necromancer back in March for the first open beta, and that thing was just overpowered. Since then, the Necromancer's been nerfed, buffed again, nerfed, buffed. So they're always constantly changing the characters' abilities, which is kind of good. Kind of annoying because you get used to a certain way all the time. But yeah, I mean, the game's fantastic. Like I said, I'm not going to spoil it. The campaign was amazing. I really enjoyed the campaign. There's more content coming out with seasons. We've got the first season coming out in July with the Battle Pass and some more content. I kind of hope they do give us more in terms of the story. Again, no spoilers, but there's definitely room for more, which I'm obviously really happy about. But that's really it, guys. Yeah, thank you for watching. If you did enjoy it, leave a little like and a sub, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.